It's among the most inhospitable and harshest terrain on the planet, but jihadist groups are thriving there. Foreign editor David Pratt examines an escalating battleground in the war on terror in the Sahel region of West Africa. Unless you were scouring the French media last week, the chances are you would have missed the story. Most reports detailed how 13 French military personnel died when the two helicopters in which they were flying crashed in the southern reaches of the Sahara in West Africa. To say that the news shocked France would be an understatement, given that it was the deadliest incident for French troops in more than 30 years. You would have to cast back to an air crash in Djibouti in 1986 and a suicide bomb attack in Beirut in 1983 that killed 58 to find a worse death toll. Last week's crash though has once again thrown a rare spotlight on a war that beyond France few people know much about, yet is now at the forefront of the global war on terror. This frontline, if it can be called that, straddles one of the most unforgiving landscapes in the world across the Sahel, a semi-arid region south of the Sahara that includes parts of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Purely in terms of terrain alone, few places in the world are more inhospitable. In going on 40 years of covering conflicts in some of the harshest places, rarely have I encountered such an uncompromising environment than that a few years ago when I first visited part of this desert region near Tahoua in Niger bordering Mali. So much of the Sahel is nothing but mile after mile of baked sand and rock, with no trace of moisture. Here and there sit empty, abandoned villages. Coming across one such community, I recall a trail of footprints in the sand heading out into the wilderness, the only ghostly clue to those villagers who through hunger, poverty and the prevailing violence around them had no choice but to move on in the hope of survival. Stepping into the oven-like heat from the rarefied atmosphere of an air-conditioned jeep, I remember pondering what it must be like to draw the short straw in life that means trying to exist in such an unremittingly harsh place. During that visit, the armed gendarmerie who escorted me with their heavy machine guns mounted on pickup trucks, was a reminder of the threat that since then has growing exponentially across the region. For as if drought, locusts, environmental degradation, climate change damage and food shortages were not enough, the Sahel is racked by insecurity. Recently a spate of deadly attacks again also highlighted the shadowy war unfolding there daily. Last month, 38 workers of a Canadian-run gold mine in Burkina Faso were killed in an ambush while traveling on buses en route to their worksite. More than 60 others were injured. Foreign staff were spared, apparently only because they. For more on this story, visit the news article link.